Began at 2 o'clock this afternoon. These are the public hearings designed to...
Oh, now it is.
Was I on the air before?
No, it wasn't.
Let me start again. I don't know if I was on the air before. It is 7 o'clock, and we're going to continue the public hearings on the proposed regulations on nutrient-sensitive areas, which the Board of Health began this afternoon at 2 o'clock. We had something like, by one count, 29, by another count, 32 people, so I guess it averages out at 31 and a half. So it was quite a crowded room for the afternoon. The hearings were advertised, as is legally required, twice in the Cape Codder, on December 21st and again on December 28th. Beyond that, there were articles in both the Cape Codder and the Cape Cod Times advertising these hearings. They were publicized on the town website, and as Mr. Hinckley will remember, on Wednesday I stood right there and I spoke to the selectmen to make sure that they knew about these hearings. So I think that we've done our job in terms of making sure that everyone knows. Now, the rules which we established for the afternoon is that once I've gone through this overture, our health agent, Mr. Canning, will give a brief overview of what the regulations are all about. And then we'll accept comments from any member of the public who wishes to come up to the podium. We request that when you do step up to the podium, you state your name, your place of residence, and your affiliation if you have one. We'd like you, if you would, to limit your initial comments at least to 5 minutes, and then allow other people to come up and speak. Now, with a small group like this, perhaps that's not such a big deal. This afternoon, we stuck to that fairly closely anyway. And then if you want to have some additional comments or want to come up and speak some more, wait till everybody who wishes to speak has had a chance to do so. So why don't we begin, as we did this afternoon, by turning it over to Bob Canning to give us a sort of overview. Bob.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to give an overview of the regulations and the preamble and the purpose. The regulations note that excess nitrogen has been identified as a major contributing factor to the declining health of the marine water environment. Excess phosphorus and to some degree excess nitrogen are the contributing factors to the declining health of the freshwater environments. In Orleans, there's an immediate concern over the level of nitrogen entering the local groundwater and its subsequent effect on marine estuaries. Currently, the nitrogen in the groundwater is steadily increasing. The town is undergoing a comprehensive wastewater management plan. The purpose of this plan is to address the sanitary needs of the town, protect the town's water supplies, reduce nutrients to the surface water, address convenience and aesthetic factors, and to support sustainable development. The town must regulate the increase in nitrogen entering the groundwater from septic systems that may affect marine estuaries. To minimize this increase in nitrogen, the town must address the generation of wastewater on a parcel-by-parcel basis relating to development to parcel size. In the regulations section on applicability, states that the following projects shall be subject to the provisions of this regulation. New commercial development with the Title V flow of under 10,000 gallons per day. I'd like to note that anything over 10,000 gallons per day are subject to the purview of the DEP Groundwater Discharge Permit Program. Existing commercial development with the total Title V flow under 10,000 gallons per day, where an addition or a change of use is proposed that will increase the sewage flow over the existing flow, but it would still remain less than 10,000 gallons per day. Subdivisions creating 3 or more parcels regardless of the existing dwelling units. Construction of multifamily housing. Construction of single-family dwellings. Alterations, additions, or change in use to existing dwellings that would increase the calculated sewage design flow. Properties already connected to a town sewer or already using enhanced treatment that removes nitrogen or phosphorus may apply for a variance or a waiver to this portion of the regulation. The following are exempt from the provisions of the regulation. Facilities with a design flow of 10,000 gallons per day or greater, which fall under the jurisdiction of the Mass DEP. Properties located within the Village Center District as currently defined by the Orleans zoning map. Properties located within the general business district as defined by the Orleans zoning map, with the exception of apartment developments having 3 or more dwelling units. Properties located in the industrial district. And modification of existing lot lines not resulting in the creation of new lots, nonconformity, or creating an increase in nonconformity by increasing the degree of existing nonconformity. The general requirements of the regulations. The regulation, first off, would not prohibit the construction of a 2-bedroom dwelling on any lot in Orleans, providing that the lot is not in an already sanctioned nitrogen-sensitive area as defined by the Mass DEP. Those sections would be the Orleans Groundwater Protection District, or the Zone of Contribution to Municipal Wells, and private properties which have private water supplies located on those properties, as well as the septic system. No permit shall be issued by the Board of Health for any project subject to the provisions of this regulations. Those are the provisions I stated earlier, unless a proposed system is designed to receive or shall receive 440 gallons per day per 440 gallons per day per 40,000 square feet of lot area, or a ratio thereof. No facility shall be expanded or have a change of use that increases its flow unless a disposal system construction permit has been issued by the Board of Health, or the board or its agent determines that the existing sewage disposal system is adequate per Title V in the Orleans Board of Health regulations, including documentation that the facility's design flow is less than or equal to 440 gallons per 40,000 square feet of lot area, or the ratio thereof. The division of land into 3 or more lots shall require a shared or common on-site sewage disposal system that provides nitrogen removal technology. A division of land involving existing dwellings resulting in the creation of parcels which are not in compliance with the ratio of 440 gallons per day per 40,000 square feet shall cause each parcel to install an on-site subsurface sewage disposal system that provides nitrogen removal technology. Variances, the regulation does have a provision for variances. Variances from the regulation may be granted by the Board of Health only if the applicant first demonstrates the satisfaction of the Board of Health that literal enforcement of the regulation would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner. Secondly, the petitioner demonstrates to the Board of Health that the discharge of effluent from the proposed septic system will offer the same level of protection to the groundwater or surface water resource as would be provided by the strict application of the regulation. The regulation also contains sections regarding authority, preamble, definitions, general enforcement, service and content of orders, hearings, appeals, penalties, severability. Complete copies of the regulations are available on the table at the side of the room. They're also have been available in the Orleans Health Department. And that will conclude my introduction.
Scanning, thank you very much. A couple of little sort of housekeeping things. We request that each of you do sign our guest register, I call it, on the table there, so we know who was here today, even if you don't get up to the podium to speak. As Bob just mentioned, the regulations are there for you to take if you have not seen them. There's also a little one-page document that we prepared called the Citizen's Guide to these proposed draft regulations, which might help answer some of the questions that we were asked. I would like to sort of draw attention to 2 points that did come up in this afternoon. Firstly, I just want to emphasize that the sort of background purpose to all this is that once implemented, it is our absolute belief that this would help to slow the rate of increase of the nitrogenous waste getting into our waters, into the embayments. This will not reduce the amount, but it will stop the rate of increase. Secondly, I do want to emphasize that for most homeowners, the only issue here is new construction. If they build a new house on whatever size lot, then this ratio applies. If they add to a dwelling, then it only applies if they add another bedroom or other rooms that can be classified as bedrooms, because of the complicated nature of what is a bedroom, then it applies, and then this ratio of gallons to square footage comes into effect. Final comment that I'll make before turning it over to you, and this is your show really, is to emphasize that as we were preparing this draft, we as the Board of Health have presented it and discussed it together with and evolved it from a series of meetings with other boards, other commissions, other committees, including the Board of Selectmen, and all of them have had some input into it. So it's by far not just the Board of Health that has dreamed up this concept of trying to slow the rate of increase of the nitrogenous waste that is getting to our embayments. With that, I will turn it over to any of you who would like to come up to the podium and ask or tell us anything we need to know as we further evolve this draft. Sir, ma'am. And do identify yourself by name, please, when you get to the podium.
Thank you. My name is Max Mikowski. I live on Deep Pond Circle in South Orleans. I just have a question or clarification. I'm in the process of purchasing a existing dwelling in the Pochit section of East Orleans. It is a 4-bedroom house and is on approximately 37,000 square feet of land. We're going to do some significant renovations to the house. We are not going to expand the footprint. We're not going up. We intend to convert the 4 bedrooms into 3 bedrooms and then add a detached garage with a 1-bedroom and bath above the garage. I'd like to find out if the alterations that I'm going to be making would have an impact on what you're talking about doing. As I read it, it would not, because we wouldn't be increasing the amount of discharge.
Well, why don't you answer? That's straight up your alley.
The regulations would allow you to maintain 4 bedrooms on the property. What I would caution you on is, as you're doing your renovations, to make sure that you understand the Board of Health regulation, Board of Health definition of a bedroom, to be sure that indeed you will only have 3 bedrooms in the main house and 1 bedroom over the garage.
Right.
But it's my understanding, and could be confirmed by the Board of Health, that if you have 4 bedrooms, you would be able to maintain 4 bedrooms even if you reconstructed the house.
Okay, very good. And the effective date, if the rules are adopted, is May 1st?
Not before then.
Not before.
Tentatively, we don't.
Does that mean then that construction has to begin by then, or we just have to get the building permit applications in by then?
In your case, neither one, because you would be allowed to do it anyway.
If the answer had been no.
Want me to speak to that?
Yeah.
Typically, the Board of Health has accepted any application as having to meet the regulations in effect that the day it's submitted.
Okay.
So if an application comes in prior to the effective date of the code, that would be reviewed under that existing code, and any approvals would be granted under the code on the day that it was submitted. But be careful to make sure that you apply for all your permits, building permit and septic permit. If 2 separate reviews are required, that answer may become more foggy as to whether or not a building permit could be signed after the regulation goes into effect, regardless of the size of the septic system.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
The trap is, what is a bedroom? People have dens and yoga rooms and libraries and sewing rooms. And all of those could easily have a little bed and little, so be careful. A bedroom is a bedroom. Ma'am, you wanted to come up, and I.
Sue Sargent, and I live on Crystal Lake Drive. And I have more questions than I do, and you hopefully will have answers. I've just sort of gotten into this, so please help me out. My questions are a couple. First of all, I really applaud our efforts as a town to try and control water, waste management, because I live on Crystal Lake. I very much care about it. I've been on Friends of Crystal Lake, the board of that, for many years. So that's this hat. My other hat is that my husband and I own property where we currently have a home that we've built, but I also own an adjoining lot that is a half acre, approximately a half an acre. If this regulation goes into effect, what happens to my property value? You know, this is not something that I ever really, this property came to me through my family. This particular smaller lot is one that I want to keep as open space, and that's my intent to do that. But it's also my, you know, my end-of-the-line annuity, if so to speak. What happens in this case? It would significantly reduce the value of that property, not just from an assessment tax point of view now, but for the future in terms of what that would mean to me. As I say, my intent is to keep it as it is, but none of us know the future. So that's a big, you know, it's a big concern to me, and it would be a concern to me for others in the same situation. Would the town compensate us in some way for the value of that, you know, that we'd be losing? It could be significant. It could have the value of that property. My second question would be, and this is again a family matter, another piece of property that my parents owned, in which my daughter and her husband currently own, is across Joy Lane from our property, so it's all sort of a budding property. It currently, and my parents built this house in 1984. It was built as a 2-bedroom, 1-den house. It's not a particularly big house. She now lives there with 3 children, she and her husband, and it's small for them, and they've always had an intent of building on another bedroom, and they might have another baby, who knows, but even without another baby, it's very tight. If this regulation went into effect, I would gather that they would not be able to build that bedroom.
How big is the lot?
It's, you know, I can't tell you the exact size, but it's about a half an acre.